You're watching Tennessee Titans today. I am Tom Downey, and if you want daily videos all year, including both in season and in the off season on the Tennessee Titans, then you guys have come to the right spot. So if you haven't already, subscribe right now. We've got some Titans news and rumors on today's show for you guys, and we're going to begin with the new Todd McShay mock draft. In his mock draft for Tennessee, which, is what you guys care about, he went a different direction than what most of the mocks have been doing for Tennessee. That is on George Karlaftis, the edge rusher out of Purdue, which of course implies that Tennessee loses Harold Landry in free agency, which, for the record, not a fan of. I don't like that idea whatsoever as it relates to potentially losing Landry. But here's what McShay wrote. Quote, I can't imagine Tennessee lets Harold Landry walk after a 12-sack season, but he could break the bank. So I guess he did imagine him leaving. Anyway, Denico Autry settled in nicely with 9 sacks, and Jeffrey Simmons is a force on the inside. But the Titans' edge rush group could benefit from another playmaker, especially if they can't re-sign Landry. Karlaftis wins with power, and he can even bump inside on obvious passing downs. I do think that McShay nailed Karlaftis on the back end there of the description of Karlaftis. He wins with power, not with great burst, and he can bump inside, which is kind of how I would describe Denico Autry, more so than Harold Landry. The value here is good. You're getting a player that will probably be off the board before Tennessee is on the clock. But I do worry about this part as well. Does he fit what Tennessee does on defense? He's not really a one-to-one replacement for Landry. Landry wins with speed off the edge. Karlaftis, not so much. Now, the other top edges weren't on the board, like a David Ojabo would be a great replacement for Landry. So I'm okay with the pick. I would also just simply re-sign Harold Landry and then draft a receiver or tight end or something else in the back end of round 1. So what do you guys have to say? Who do you think the Titans should draft in the first round of this year's NFL draft? I'm going to make this question the pinned comment on today's video. So if by chance you get the ad break on YouTube, well, while the ad plays, head down to the pinned comment and let me know who you want Tennessee to add. Time to get weird. Trade for Patrick Mahomes. This has somehow been started after Patrick Mahomes spoke glowingly about Mike Vrabel at the Pro Bowl, saying he would be an awesome coach to play for because Vrabel, of course, coached the AFC Pro Bowl team, etc. There's a lot of issues here in terms of why it's not going to happen. But the quote from Mahomes, I bet Vrabel will be an awesome coach, dude. He's a player. So he understands, but he's going to make sure you get your done. And you can all fill in the expletive there. It's pretty straightforward. Obviously, Mahomes is the best QB in the NFL right now. He would represent a massive, major upgrade over Ryan Tannehill. No disrespect intended, but that's the truth. It's also not happening. The way that Mahomes' deal is designed, and from the Chiefs' perspective, unless Mahomes says, you know what, I actually hate the entire state of Kansas and Kansas City, and I just want out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. Trade me right now. 0% chance that ever goes down. His contract is not able to be moved from the Chiefs' perspective, and, they wouldn't want to do that either. And from the Chiefs' side, you could almost see them going, well, when Andy Reid retires, maybe we find a way to bring in Mike Vrabel. Probably not, but I think that is even more likely than actually landing Patrick Mahomes. The craziest part is, I would argue this is not the most outlandish story we're going to get to here in a little bit. So I'm a little surprised producer Jack missed on this opportunity. Get your votes in. Does Mahomes come to Tennessee? Could have gone N for no. Why for no? Because it's not happening. But the votes are for you guys. If you want to speak the chaos into existence, type in a Y for yes or N for no. This one's probably even weirder. Bleacher Report put out an article, Absurd NFL Trade Offers, which was built around how do you make the best players in the NFL go to a different team. Obviously, there's 0% chance this would happen. Their idea for Derrick Henry, though, is shipping him not to KC, not to the Ravens, to the Steelers, who already have a running back. And it gets even stranger. Here's what Bleacher Report wrote. The Titans know what they have in Henry. He's a rare runner who dictates an entire offensive game plan and how defenses react. Conversely, the Titans may want to concentrate more on their talented wide receiver core when the squad can still get good production out of other backs. They continued, obviously, no one can replace Henry, but the unit's identity doesn't need to completely change, as the Titans learned over the second half of the 2021 campaign. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers are without a quality starting quarterback and a viable running game. Pittsburgh has finished among the bottom 4 in rushing yardage each of the last 4 seasons. Plus, Henry looks like the big, physical, snarling ball carrier that has defined the Steelers football for so long. They argue to build a combo running game of Derrick Henry and Najee Harris. Oh, and the biggest insulting offer? Guess what Bleacher Report offered Tennessee in exchange for giving up the best back in the NFL? A singular first-round pick. So Pittsburgh, with no offensive line and no QB, is moving their first-round pick for Derrick Henry to split time with Najee Harris. To be blunt, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen Bleacher Report put together. There's no way this happens. And for an absurd trade idea, why does Tennessee get screwed in this deal? They're not even getting back Najee Harris. They get a first-round pick. Derrick Henry is the Titans' offense. He is the core of why things work well. In a down year, he had almost 1,000 yards in a half season. It is insulting to suggest this is a remotely good idea for Tennessee. Also, I know running backs don't matter in the NFL. A first for Derrick Henry, which is somehow less than what they spent on Najee Harris. What are you doing? No, that's stupid. So the answer here is also just one of them. Should the Titans trade away Derrick Henry? T for trade, or it's Pete for pass. Don't do that. Build around him and actually continue to run the football effectively. If you guys want more Titans videos, sometimes calling out stupid ideas from major publications, you've come to the right spot. Hit that big red button and subscribe right now. Let's talk Harold Landry now. Things getting interesting on this front amid his desire to get a new contract extension. A to Z Sports reports that Landry wants to be the top paid player in his meeting room. Now, I would interpret that as not overall defense, but edge rusher. Namely, he wants to top the contract that Bud Dupree signed, which, of course, he should. Here's what Buck Riesing of A to Z Sports reported. Quote, sources close to Harold Landry say that, quote, being the top paid player in his meeting room is among his main priorities. Now, Tennessee's 2021 acquisition, Bud Dupree, 5 years, $82 million, currently holds that title. That's 16.5 average, by the way. Continued, an average annual value of $17 million on a second contract would be on par with Spotrac's latest market evaluation of a 4-year deal with $68.4 million. Honestly, I would be surprised if you could settle for $17 million with Harold Landry. After all, the upcoming franchise tag for the cost is $18 million. As I said at the beginning of today's show, please pay Harold Landry. He's a really good football player, and those guys are tough to find. He's become everything you wanted him to be as a pass rusher. Now, I don't think he has to be a top 5 highest paid edge on the open market, but I do think if he hits the open market, there is a very real chance a bidding war begins for him, because unlike guys like Chandler Jones, who I love, he's going to command a lot of money, and he's younger than those guys. 18-ish million, maybe 18.5, is the projected franchise tag cost, knowing that could change here. You got to beat out the Trey Flowers deal. And if you franchise tag Landry, like you should at minimum, he's not going to take less than $18 million average per year. So with all of that in mind, how much would you pay Harold Landry per year? I'll be honest, I don't mind making him a 5-year, $100 million guy. That's $20 million per year. I know it's expensive. You factor in the cost next year for franchise tag, it's actually going to save you money in the end. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Remember, if you haven't already, please subscribe to us here at Tennessee Titans Today for more free videos all off season long.